All right, so why is Grant Cardone wrong about real estate? I'm going to go over that in this next video. Okay, so my name is Franklin Cruz. If you don't know me, I've been doing real estate for a very long time, 19 years. Also, I am a military veteran, served 7.5 years inside the United States Army. So anyway, I'm going to go right into why is Grant Cardone wrong. So I see so many people talk about Grant Cardone knows so much about real estate, and he does. He is actually very smart when it comes down to real estate. So I have nothing against him at all. But his specialty is 100% commercial real estate. And that's really where he makes his bread and butter. So I'm going to go over why is he wrong, because he does talk kind of low a little bit about single family homes. And that's where, I don't know, about 99% of Americans actually live in some kind of single family home, or they've lived in a single family home and they're transitioning from apartment to something else or whatever, but everybody's had an experience with a single family home. So I'm going to explain why is he wrong about real estate. So the number one thing is this, which we're going to go over. When he's talking about real estate, the number one thing that he talks about is apartment communities, and he's talking about cash flow. Now, why is this a big deal? So when you're talking about cash flow, and that's really what he's looking at, is strictly buying a very large asset for, let's say, $1 million or $1 million plus. Yes, if you can play in this world and perfect it, that is 100% the world that you should go in. Because there's nothing wrong with commercial. That's actually our transition where we'll definitely be going very soon. But I love single family, and here's the reason why. For if I had $1 million or even $2.5 million or whatever that looks like, $1 million can buy me anywhere from, in any place in the country except San Francisco, can buy me anywhere from 3 to 7 plus homes for the exact same amount. Now, why do I actually love single family homes? Now, here's why. Remember, if you have an asset and you buy any kind of depreciating asset, when it comes down to an apartment building or a single family home, yes, you instantly have equity. You instantly have something that you can do something with that equity. Now, here's the catch. If you do one thing wrong and you don't have reserves and you basically put all of your money into that one commercial property and something goes wrong, you're stuck. So you normally want to purchase an undervalued apartment building, and then what you're doing is you're attempting to refinance out of those old nasty terms to get your cash as quickly as possible. Now I know it seems easier when I'm talking about it, but it actually is not, because there's thousands of commercial investors always looking for the hottest and new deal. So that is extremely rare, because when it comes down to a commercial building or an apartment building, just look around your neighborhood. There's not that many in comparison to a single family home. So yes, you can get an apartment building, but when it comes down to it, it may take anywhere from 6 months to a year to 2 years to 3 years to find that sweet deal that you're really looking for. Or you're going to have to risk it and create your own apartment building, buy the land, get the architectural plans, make sure the zoning is proper, make sure everything is done properly, and then resell. Or then actually start building so you can resell one day. Or you can find a depreciating an apartment building, which is not easy to do. And then at the same time too, you can actually purchase that building, find the equity or create the equity within that apartment building, or find what's actually happening. Is it mismanagement? Whatever that is, so you can actually scoop up that property. Single family world, a little bit different, a little bit easier. Every single one of these assets that I just purchased, if it's 7 plus homes with that $1 million or more, immediately it can start cash flowing. But I have a lot of options when it deals with any kind of home that I can do. So number one, and I'll write it up here, I can rent it out. That's one source. I could do a lease option. That's another source. I could do rent to own, almost the exact same thing. That's another source. I could do creative financing, hold the paper, owner financing. I can sell the property if I feel like it. I could actually hold the note on 30% of it or 40% of it. There's so many different things that I can create income out of inside this single family home. In an apartment building, either you're going to rent it or rent it. Okay, now you can convert it into condos one day. I've actually have experience with that. But that's really it. You can't do too much with it. Now, yes, if you own the apartment building free and clear, there's a lot of playful things that you can do. But when it deals with here, to me, I like it because number one, I'm improving the community. Number two, I'm actually purchasing asset that I know for a fact that I have a lot of different options. Worst case scenario, if money got really, really tight, I could liquidate that asset in a lot of different ways. Not even included, I could refinance the property, as well as when it comes to the tax benefits, depreciation, and all these other things that you can actually get out of a single family home. It's huge. So that's why when I think about Grant Cardone, I know he's talking about apartment buildings. I kind of wish he would talk about, in a sense of had a little bit more experience when it came to single family homes. Because I truly believe every single homeowner who is watching this, you are somebody who is a real estate investor. You have the opportunity that you can actually transform your community and start rehabilitating certain houses. You could take the equity out of your house, buy another house, get really good at rehab. There's so many different things that anybody can actually do it, other than just giving your money to somebody else and letting them figure out, here's the best way to make me money on a commercial unit. And we'll get to that. So here's another thing. When you are dealing with, and I actually wrote down some notes here, when you're dealing with an apartment building as well. So you've got an apartment building here, or apartments, right? So you got your apartment building. So what does that mean to you? So when it deals with this apartment building, remember, you can convert it to condos, or you've got the rents from the actual rent from the apartments, right? So you got the rental income. Now, yes, is there different types of things that you could do to that apartment building? Yes, you can convert it over to, let's say, which is a hot commodity right now, is senior living, which is a senior community, and actually making it only for seniors as well. That's a huge market right now in the commercial market of apartment buildings, is finding those senior communities, aka nursing homes, some of them, is because obviously that is something that you got the baby boomers that are aging up and they need that. You've got, why do you think RVs are such a big deal? Or all these other retirement areas. You've got the mobile homes, which don't tell me about mobile home communities. I do not like them at all. Stay away from them. If you're getting older, don't go that route. Or rather, you buy a property that you own your own land and you can control how that rent is actually going to go, meaning just your taxes. But when it comes down to a mobile home community, hell no. You can't control the lot rents. And if you do the research, you actually have way more hedge funds. I know I'm going to the side rant, but you have a lot more hedge funds buying into the mobile home communities, which they're just trying to get as much money as possible. And I hate that. There's nothing wrong with money, but there's a way that you should not do that to mobile home communities, meaning you can't control your lot rent. So if it's $400 and it goes up to $500, there ain't nothing you can do about it because they own the land underneath you, which is horrible, but it is what it is. But again, when it deals with your apartments, just remember this. You can only do so much. You're very limited. It is something that I highly would not recommend in the beginning of your real estate career. I would rather have somebody have a win. If you are a homeowner, sell your house first, get that win, feel great about yourself, move on to the next one, have that equity that you kept to the side, or the cash flow or the cash that you made off of that profit, and do something else and get another win. I wish I would have known that when I was, 21 years old when I started in real estate, and I did not know that. So here's the other thing as well. When it comes down to why Grant Cardone is wrong in real estate, so whenever somebody is the only one in control of an apartment building and all of the fees and really making sure that you're actually purchasing that person, not just a company, but you're purchasing a person that, what if something happened to Grant? So something happened to Grant. So why do I say that? Well, for me, the reason why I say that is when I was 10 years old, my mother actually passed away. And so because she passed away, later on I got adopted by the Cruz family. Thank God for them. But when it came down to that, I always live in the scarcity of you're not promised tomorrow. So you're never promised tomorrow. And that's kind of been like my downfall and just something that, I've always just kind of dealt with. And so when I look at this, what if something happened to Grant? He is the mastermind of all of these apartment buildings and all of these communities and everything else that he's doing. But what if something happened to him? What is the plan? Now, don't get me wrong. If he purchased an asset, that is a great asset. Fantastic. But the catch is, and I always question it when somebody has very high overhead. When you have a lot of overhead, sometimes I question, are they making the best decision for me, or are they making the best decision for themselves? That's why, I run a family-owned business. Actually, the whole entire family, including my 10-year-old, actually is in the business. And I try to keep as much overhead as low as possible, keep very, very, very lean, as super lean as possible, make sure our reserve accounts are full for our business and our personal account, but make sure that there's zero debt within the business. He's super debt heavy. Obviously, if you have a jet, a Gulfstream, that's almost $1 million to $2 million a year just to maintain it. I know that because I have a couple friends with one. And so what I look at is, look, if you're making $100 million a year and everything's 100% debt free, you have no debt, and you're not compromising yourself, then yes, good, keep on doing it. You're doing an amazing job. But I always question somebody with super high debt ratio, and always look, because what happens is then you're looking for that next big deal, and the margins may not be great, but because you need the money, because you're such in a high debt ratio, you start making questionable and I would say some ethical questions come up, because now you're only money hungry. You're not thinking of what's going to happen if something goes wrong on this deal. Well, do I have a great asset that I can easily resell? What if the market takes a dip? Because there's so many people interested in commercial apartment building. Now remember, right now there's limited how many apartment buildings are out there in America. But what if you start getting apartment buildings popping up everywhere? Well, just remember, if apartment buildings start popping up everywhere, what happens to rent? Rents decrease, not increase, just because there's a lot of people that want to rent. So if they start filling up in a sense of, hey, we got another apartment building over here, we got another apartment building over here, we have another one over here, now they have a lot to choose from. If the vacancies rates start decreasing when it comes down to apartment buildings, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to decrease their rents to fill them up as quickly as possible. And so now when you decrease the rents, what happens? The only reason why people buy apartment buildings is two things: equity and cash flow. So if their cash flow, meaning their actual cap rate, that's how they look at how much money is coming in, is their actual cap rate. When they start looking at that and their cap rate is decreasing because of mismanagement, competition, all these other things, what happens? The value goes down, because the value on an apartment building is based upon cap rate and what is the actual cash flow minus expenses, that cap. What is it? And then that's how you can mark a great property that they're going to purchase or resell. So those are the kind of things of why I think Grant Cardone is wrong when it comes to real estate. I think he's right about so many things. He's a great motivator, obviously a great father, great husband, doing a fantastic job. And he definitely takes some super high risk, which I cannot deny that man knows what he's doing when it comes down to risk. But when it comes down to it, I always have to question somebody with such a high debt ratio, because I've been around people like that. I've been around somebody that made $55 million a year 15 years ago. Okay, so just think about that. He had a Gulfstream. He had Rolls Royces. He had Phantom Rolls Royces. He had up to several mansions all over the place, Malibu, Florida, everywhere. You could name it. He had it all. And what happened was he got audited. He had the IRS after him. He had state senators after him. He had a lot of things that happened in several years and literally lost everything. All of it. But the question is, man, what if he would have kept some of the income? Meaning, what if he would have stored away 10 or 20 or $30 million for his life, saying, hey, I'm good. Instead of these high debts of saying, hey, I got a Gulfstream, I got to look great. Because a Gulfstream is 100% ego, right? You can still get a jet or a Jet Smarter. You could do so many different things other than just buy it, right? But when ego comes into play, it's very difficult to kill ego when every single person loves you, when everything is driven around materialistic things. So it's just something to think about. And who am I to talk to, right? I drive a Tesla for all I care, right? But I look at it in a sense of every day I'm attempting to kill my ego. So anybody that has a huge ego, I always look at it and I question how further is that company going to go. I hope it goes extremely well. Actually, I want him to win. But for me as an investor and where I choose to put my money at, that's how I look at every kind of investment when I'm investing to a business or a person. I want to make sure their ego is in check and it's something that they're going to be able to lower their ego to improve the future of their following or their culture or their business or their family. Because if not, it always dies off. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button. If you watched this whole entire thing, that should be pretty good, right? So anyway, let me know what you got out of it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.